It's Rhema Afternoons. Now, Lynne Leppard's early life included foster care and adoption, and as a result, she found herself later on wondering about her origins and heritage. Now, she was very loyal to her adoptive family, but she also had that really strong sense of longing, wanting to find out more about her first family. So she writes about this in her new book. It's called Road to Belonging, where she shares her story of closed adoption and her search for identity and belonging. Lynne, thanks for being a part of the show today.
Kia ora.
Hi, thanks, Diane. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honour to be able to share the story with you and talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you with us. And talking of the story, first of all, I guess for those of us who haven't been in this situation, it's kind of hard to understand, but I think there's an awful lot of people who will know what you're referring to here. But before we get to that, let's just talk about your situation, because it was a closed adoption. Can you just explain what the situation was there?
Okay, well, particularly between the 1950s to the 1980s in New Zealand, the adoptions were all closed, and that means a lot of secrecy, and there's no knowledge between either side of biological parents or biological family. So you get a new birth certificate when you're adopted with new names on it, and from that day on, it's all through the courts and everything's sealed. You can't find anything out about your background or heritage, whereas nowadays it's different with open adoptions, and both sides can at least know their heritage and whakapapa, and that way, that door is open and they can figure that out for themselves, which is, a lot different.
Growing up, Lynne, then, did you know that you were adopted? I mean, what was it like growing up?
I did. I can't remember specifically being told, but I had a brother and sister 10 and 11 years older than me, and they both firmly reassured me that we all knew we were adopted right the way along. But I do remember when I was about 9, a very close family friend said something in the likes of, "Oh, that's because you're adopted." And I got such a shock. I was like, how does she know? Why are we talking about it? And I felt like it was something to be embarrassed about, because it wasn't really something talked about then, and there was a lot of secrecy around it. So I found, at school and things like that, even though I knew I was cared for and loved, there was a bit of teasing and that sort of thing about, well, at least my mother loved me, or who are your real parents, and throwaway comments like that was just awkward and uncomfortable, and I ended up feeling a bit embarrassed about it for a long time.
Well, let's come back to that longing to find out more then. Take us through that journey. Was there a particular moment or something that you remember that really sort of had you going, no, I really want to pursue this and find out more about this?
Yeah, well, I noticed with friends and families around me that there was often so many similarities with families. They looked like their parents, or they looked like their brother and sister, or they'd have mannerisms that were obviously the same. And I just noticed in my own self that wasn't the case in my surroundings. I was the only person in my family with brown eyes, or, all of those kind of things. So when my sister, who was, as I said, 11 years older than me, she found her birth mother when I was about 16. And I was very surprised to hear that you could even do that. And so once I heard about that, that just began that, opened a door in my mind and heart, thinking, well, I would really like to know who my first family was.
Now, along all the way, God and faith has been an important part of your life. Can you tell us about this and how this informed the way that you did things, the way that you felt about things?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I've always felt that faith has been my anchor. So I was fortunate to grow up in a church family, and I found the hymns and Bible readings and things like that very reassuring. So it was something that had some sort of security to it. Whereas in myself, I felt a little bit untethered, but that would sort of bring me back to a place of belonging, I suppose. And yeah, so that was a foundational part for me, that it was something even going forward that, I felt, even though it wasn't like a religious thing, but I felt God's love for me in a very personal and real way. And that's something that I found helpful going forward with prayer. And, it was a journey between him and me really as well, to find each step of the way, each person along the way in the birth families.
Well, the book is called Road to Belonging, and in just a moment we'll get to details on how you can get yourself a copy of the book. But just as we come to a close, let's just focus on the book, because, I can imagine this being an incredibly personal journey and experience that you're wrestling with. So then why take that step of putting your story into this book for others to engage with?
Yeah, it's been a big stretch, it's for sure. I've usually been quite a quiet person, so it's been a big step, but I just couldn't ignore being drawn into it. As I just really had this little whisper on repeat of, will you share your story? And the more and more I heard other people's experiences of, we can't find our family, what did you do? Or people looking for their heritage in some way or other, it just kept spurring that on. And so it was a real journey of faith and prayer to get the words out.
And so what are you hoping then for those who read your book?
It's always been my prayer that it would hold some hope and light and love in the words. So that may sound cheesy, but that's really my heart for it. I think there are, in all sorts of different stories that we have in life, there are chances that people can feel rejected or a sense of not belonging or not fitting in. And so even though I've predominantly written for adoptees and birth parents and adoptive parents, or anyone involved with that, I hope that it'll also touch parts of other people's hearts that might be looking for answers in that area too. I hope it'll have some validation and healing in the words. I think that's my biggest hope in it.
Thank you, Lynne.
It occurs to me that even if you don't have a personal experience of this yourself, so many people do. So chances are we may know someone who's gone through or is going through this. And to be fair, we may know someone and not even know that this is a reality that they're wrestling with as well. So look, in terms of the book, let's go to some details then as we come to a close. As we said, Road to Belonging is the title. So this is available. Lynne, just take us through how people might get their hands on a copy if they'd like to.
Oh, thank you. So people are welcome to email me at leppardlynne@gmail.com or message me on my Facebook page, which is lynne.leppard.author. And I would be happy to send a signed copy. My publisher also is selling it in New Zealand. That's Torn Curtain Publishing. And it's also available on Amazon, on Kindle as well. So any of those avenues is fine.
Lynne, I'm just going to put it out there. The spelling of Lynne is Lynnne, and then your last name is Leppard, just for those who would like to email you. So that is leppardlynne@gmail.com. Lynne, thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for sharing your story. And the book is called Road to Belonging, if you'd like to check it out.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.